isi-share screen ko po yung aming i-consult sa official account kung saan po kayo pwedeng mag-message ng inyong mga pa-shoutouts din, pag-greetings at sa mga ngayon. Yan. Please do look for this account dyan sa Messenger, i-consulta Attorney Tanyeka. Pwede ho kayong magtanong ng questions dyan at saka mag-comment kung ano yung pinag-uusapan natin ngayon sa ating dito sa ating online kapihan sa BLGF7. Ayan, pag-greetings na tayo. Good morning dyan kay Ma'am Lucila Rial sa Pepi. Ayan. Galing din kay Ma'am Elvira Bingbing Takaysan Galanto. Good morning everyone watching from Jordan Guimaras, Region 6. Good morning, Ma'am. Nene Sorongon Plenius is also watching. Ay, kay Sir Glenn de la Peña ng Talibon. Good day to the people of Assessment and Treasury Department. Good morning din kay sino pang nanonood ngayon? Yan, si Ma'am Dali. Siguro sa Toledo City ito si Ma'am Dali, yung assistant assessor ng Toledo for administration. Good morning kayo, Ma'am. Si Christina Mons ay nanonood pala. Suki na rin. At saka si Ma'am Ange Ofiana Nalika. She is watching. Si Ma'am Berhelia Rofos Oponi. Good morning everyone and all BGF personnel watching from Assessor's Office of Sibunga. Good morning, Soki. From Toledo City, si Rio Maria Jose Pena. Good morning, Ma'am. Si Nenita Esteban is watching. And of course, yung presidente na ating Bohol Assessor State, yung may pakana sa intuition at question na ito. Question natin ngayon. Good morning sa iyo, Sir. Engineer Ramil Archaga. Mr. President, Sir, good morning. Yan, yung assessing officer ng Madrid is watching. Madrid de Hops, Engineer Chi. Si Ninita Esteban is watching also. And of course, si Ma'am Marie Fernandez Reyes. At saka sila Elvera Garcilan Cornelia Sumawang. Good morning po din kay Miss Nineta Esteban. Ayan, continue tayo mamaya. Good morning po sa lahat ng aming nanonood ngayon sa aming BLGF streaming live dyan sa online kapihan sa BLGF7. Ayan, ito na nga. Subukan na nating himay-himayin ang issue ng to issue or not to issue or to tax or not to tax tungkol sa mga sandbar na yan. Standby po, i-share screen ko lang po yung aking presentation. Saan na ba yung si sandbar na yan? Ayan, kuha ko na. Ito. Katanungan again, our discussion or our kapihan for today is with regards to those sandbar, yung mga lulubog, lilitaw na mga landmass na yan. Dapat ba yung isyuhan ng tax declaration or hindi? Ladies and gentlemen, para sa inyong pang-comment, please do dyan sa aming comment section ng BLGF7. Punta na po kayo dyan sa comment section. Muna, kasi titingnan nyo. Hirap ito mag-isa. Titingnan ko po yung mga comment nyo para walang Ayan, si Richie Gungo, si Sir Richie Gungo, Good Constellation is watching together with, of course, si Ma'am Malo Herrera, ating former president ng ACMA. Ay, si Idol Alden Purog, nanonood, nakakahiya naman itong si Sir Alden Purog. Kung ano-ano ang pinagsasabi sa comment section dyan. Sir, maliit na bagay po, huwag namang malabisin. Thank you po, Idol, Sir Alden. Long time no see po, Idol Alden Purog. Yan. First, of course, balikan po. Gusto ko po sanang i-share yung actual video during the Miss Universe na question and answer portion. Kaso lang, baka ma-flag down tayo, ma-strike down tayo as copyright. So, yan na lang po muna. So, basically, ang sabi ni Ms. Charlene Diaz is, when you are asking us Filipinos how many islands are there in the Philippines, you should qualify Whether you are asking if it is during high tide or during low tide. Kaya naman napunta tayo sa issue sa mga sandbar na yan kasi isa po yan sa mga lulubog, lilitaw. Himay-himayin natin. Dapat bang i-taxi ang mga sandbar na yan? Yung mga lulubog, lilitaw na yan? Now, balikan po na natin yung pinaka-basic po natin bago tayo magpunta doon sa pinaka-answer, response po natin dyan sa ating issue of the day, kapihan of the day. Now, sabi po kasi ng Constitution, balik po muna tayo doon sa Constitution. Article 12 of the 1987 Constitution, Section 2 thereof, ito yung parang palating balik-balikan natin if we talk about lands. Yeah. Sabi ng Constitution, kasi nag-evolve ito from 1935 to 1967. Ito yung pinaka-latest, sabi ng Constitution. All lands of public domain, ano ba yung public domain muna? Basically, pag public domain na yan, ibig sabihin, pag-aari ng lahat na walang sino bang walang umangkin na private ownership. So, basically, public domain, yung it is available to the public as a whole. Therefore, it is owned by the state, di ba? All lands of public domain. Waters, mineral, lands yan ha? Nasali yung waters. Basta. Waters, minerals, coal, petroleum, and other mineral oils. Enumeration pala ito. Isa yung lands of public domain, isa yung waters, minerals, coal, petroleum, and other mineral oils. All forces of potential energies, fisheries, forest or timber, wildlife, flora and fauna, and other natural resources are owned by the state. Ito'y kaalinsunod dito yung nanggagaling yung Regalian Doctrine. Now, ano ba po yung pwedeng ma-alienate, pwedeng ma-dispose as part of private ownership, pwedeng bilhin, pwedeng ma-alienate nga, pwedeng ma-dispose. Yan. With the exception of agricultural land, yun ha, emphasis on agricultural, all other natural resources shall not be alienated. Therefore, ang pwede po lang ma-dispose, pwede pong mayroong private ownership, ay yun pong agricultural land. Constitution po yan. The rest are owned by the state. Now, sabi ko po kasi, ito yung pinagmulan ng Regalian Doctrine. Parang R-E-Y, parang hari, pag-aari ng hari. Ang lahat ng lupain ay pag-aari ng hari. Yan yung pinaka-root word ng Regalian. Yan, Regalian Doctrine. The Regalian Doctrine dictates kasi that all lands of public domain, yung public domain belonging to the public as a whole, for the consumption of the public, it belongs to the state. So yung public domain, yung walang private ownership, yung belonging to the public as a whole, walang nagmamayari na isa. Ang publiko ang makagamit for consumption of the public. Now, it belongs to the state. That the state is the source of any asserted right to ownership of the land. Kung ikaw po ay nagmagmay-ari in a private capacity ng isang land, ito po ay dahil sa galing po ito sa estate. Any asserted right of ownership is sourced from the state. And therefore, it is charged with the conservation of such patrimony. Ano yung patrimony? Yung inheritance natin. Kasi itong mga lupain ito, galing pa ito sa mga ninuno natin. So, patrimony is galing para our forefathers, male, patrimony. Patrimony kasi female. Ang ginagamit na word, patrimony. So, galing sa ating mga, as part of our heritage, yung pag-aari po ng ating mga land. Ayan. The doctrine has been consistently adopted from the various constitutions that we have. This is stated under GR number 167707 October 8, 2008. Now, pag unclassified lands daw, sabi ng citation ng Supreme Court case na yan, all lands not otherwise appearing to be clearly within private ownership are presuming to belong to the state. So balikan natin po dyan sa mga sandbars nila. Pag these are unclassified, wala pong mai-establish na private ownership, i-assume muna natin na yung sandbar in issue na yan, walang mai-establish na private ownership, it is presumed to clearly belong to the state. Yung mga unclassified lands na yan. Thus, all lands that have not been acquired from the government, either by purchase or by grant, belongs to the state as part of inalienable public domain. So yung pong hindi na-acquire from the government by purchase or by grant, yung mga title o kung anumang mga kinds of grant ayan, it belongs to the state. Necessarily, it is up to the state to determine if the lands of public domain will be disposed for private ownership. Tingnan nyo po yung citation yan. GR number 167707. I think this is about the Boracay case siguro. Hindi ko lang i-caption yung title to avoid unnecessary kung ano yung mga parties po doon, exposure sa mga pangalan. Kaya, unclassified land, sabi po in continuation with that case, a positive act declaring land as alienable and disposable is required. Therefore, balikan po natin yung Sandbar na yan. Mayroon ho bang positive act ang government? Declaration, reclassification, conversion, title, for sure lease, or maanong grants man yan, na nagsasabing alienable and disposable yung Sandbar na yan. Na andun pa po tayo sa classification of land per the Constitution. Wala pa po tayo doon sa issuance of tax declaration. So bumabalik pa lang po tayo sa basic now. In keeping with the presumption of state ownership, the court has time and again emphasized that there must be a positive act of the government such as an official proclamation declassifying this inalienable public land into disposable land for agricultural or other purposes. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, sabi po ng 1987 Constitution, ang pwede lang pong ma-dispose as alienable and disposable ayun po yung mga agricultural land. So hanapin po na natin yung mga sandbar na yan, ginagawa bang agricultural land na yan? Kinonvert ba yan? Mayroon bang positive act ng government, ng state, na na-declare na kasi kung balikan natin yung constitution, ang pwede lang ma-dispose kasi yung mga agricultural land. Ayan. Okay. Noted po, production team, kasi mayroon pa po sana kaming i-guess. Now, balikan po natin yung constitution. Ang pwedeng ma-dispose agricultural land lang. Now, in the string of cases that the Supreme Court has decided upon, lalo na po yung sinayad ko, sabi ng Supreme Court, there must be a positive act by the state declaring unclassified land as an agricultural na magiging disposable po ito. So therefore, i-assure nyo muna na yung mga sandbar na yan, whatever that, or whatever mga landmass na i-issuehan nyo ng tax declaration ng yung mga lulubog lilitaw, mayroong public act, positive act ng government na na-declare na these are alienable and disposable. Remember, what are alienable and disposable lands per Constitution? Yung mga agricultural lands lang. Yan. So standby muna, pag-ratings na naman tayo. Diyan lang muna tayo. Remember, the Constitution says patrimonial lands are of public domains, yung mga pag-aari ng lahat, walang private consortium, at it belongs to the state. By virtue of the Regalian Doctrine, by virtue of the Constitution, all acts and yung assertion of ownership over lands should be sourced from the government, from the state. Now, tungkol po dyan, sabi ng isang Supreme Court case, there must be a positive act by the state, by the government declaring such land as alienable and disposable. Yan, papunta na po tayo dyan sa mga pag-ratings naman para walang shout out kay Pablo Ablon of Region 10. Nanonood pala si Sir Pablo. Si Sir Vince Sanchez of Region 5. Si Sir Rafi, idol, Sir Rafi Galo of Region 9 and si Ma'am JV Gualberto of Region 11. By the way, nagtanong pala. Hindi ko lang mention kasi hindi niya ipapapit. Walang nasabi kung pa-mention yung pangalan. Yung back taxes ng 10 years back taxes, mag-a-apply po ba sa machinery? Hindi ko lang i-explain but doon, specific po doon kasi sa Section 222 of the Local Government Code na assessment of property subject to back taxes. Sabi po doon, ang subject ng back taxes ay yung real property declared for the first time. Real property. Wala pong kasing classification whether it is land, wala pong as to kind, land, building, or machinery. Lahat po ng real property sa local government code for purposes of real property taxation, we classify machineries as real property. So I believe po, ma'am, na yung real properties are subject to back taxes scheme. Now, pangalawang tanong, konsulta na kayo portion na. Are the wait muna. Can they are the rules on discount for advance and prompt payment apply also to these machineries? Ayan, balikan ko muna po yung sinasabi ko. Section 222 of the Local Government Code, real property, yung 10 years back taxes po kasi. Sabi po ng 222, real property. For purposes of real property taxation, kalaki po kasi yung machinery as real property. So, it is my belief, disclaimer po, ito ay friendly discussion lang. We have to appreciate the case as to the particularities of the facts that are involved. Now, kasali po yung machineries. Now, for you to determine kung kung ilang years yung back taxes mo, you must also establish kung nag-exist or nagiging real property in that for purposes of the definition, yung sa local government code, necessary for the business of the
Turns, wala kang screen turns.
Walang naka-screen ka. Ayan. Wala palang naka-screen. Stop mo muna yung screen. Ayan. Sabi ng section 222, i-establish po muna natin kung nagamit na pa yung machinery na yan. So, hindi talaga 10 years, but if you can establish through documentary evidence na existing na po yung machinery, ginagamit na po yan sa business ng ng taxpayer, yan po ay subject to back taxes. Now, as to availment of the tax discount, sabi po kasi ng tax discount for advance or prompt payment, yung accrual kasi of tax is on the first day of January. From this date, it shall constitute lien on the property. Now, technically, advance payment of taxes refer to those made before the accrual of the tax, before it accrues. Now, pag declared po the first time, mag-a-accrue pa lang po yan pag naka-issue na po kayo ng assessment, particularly notice of assessment. Now, with respect to real property taxes, the obligation to pay arises on the first day of January of the year following the assessment. So to say, pag first time declared, wala pa po kayong assessment na maisasabi natin for those prior years, na 10 years. So wala pang delinquency. So parang pasok pa po siya doon sa discount ng advance payment pagka-receive niya po ng notice of assessment. Now, anong sabi ng section 222? If such taxes thou are paid on or before the end of the quarter following the date of the notice of assessment was received by the owner, no interest or delinquency shall be imposed. Otherwise, such taxes shall be subject to increased rate of 2%. Sabi ng local government code. Now, emphasis, nag-accrue lang po yung tax upon the receipt of the notice of assessment. Sabi po ng kasi ng accrual doon sa local government code, nag-accrue January 1. Sabi po doon sa advance payment, if it is paid before the accrual, you are entitled to discount of advance or prompt payment. Hindi pa nag-accrue kasi nga wala pang assessment. It accrues only upon the service of the notice of assessment. Good morning kay Ma'am Rachel Saison, Tourism Officer ng Talibon, Bohol. Good morning, Ma'am. Good morning po sa lahat ng nanonood dyan sa Talibon, Bohol. Pa-shout out daw. Ayan. Kay Ma'am Nineta Esteban, sina Ma'am Suki Jenely Botawan, o Bubay siguro ito. Kay Ma'am Annabel Dante, ay assessor natin. Pinakamalakas na assessor dyan sa grocery. Ma'am, long time no see, Ma'am Annabel Dante. Sir Edsel, Mr. Vice President, Sir Edsel Lagura of San Fernando, Cebu. Si Cristialin Durante of Sandoval is also watching. Geraldine Tabangaytan is watching. Si Jenny Lee, ayan, nabanggit ko na yan. Si Idol Alden Porog, Jocelyn Pugoy, yan. Si Ma'am Annabel Dante, ayan, nabanggit ko na yan. Si Ma'am Nela Enriquez Alta, ayan, nabanggit ko na kasamahan dito sa si Ma'am Geraldine Tan. Yan, na-mention ko na yata ito. Diba? Yan, si Ma'am Elvera Sumawang is watching. Yan. Si Amelia Belia Sabandal is also watching. Si Ma'am Jandayan Linlin and si Ma'am JV Gualberto of Region 11. Yan lang po muna yung pag-greetings. Baka maubos yung oras natin sa discussion. Now, balikan po ko po yung aming discussion tungkol po sa Sandbar. Please, production team, is my share screen seen on the screen? Jules?
Yes, proceed, Torrance, proceed.
Okay, thank you. Now, balikan ko po. All state presumed unclassified lands are presumed to be belonging to the state. So, because of that presumption, there must be a passive act declaring the land as alienable and disposable. Now, the burden of proof in overcoming the presumption of state ownership of land of public domain is the person applying for that registration. Doon pa po tayo sa ownership ha, wala pa po tayo sa issuance of tax declaration kasi alam po natin, wala naman po tayong pakialam doon sa ownership sa pag-issue ng tax declaration. Now, for this unclassified land, for this presumption na hindi po yan belonging to the state to be overcome, the applicant may also secure a certification from the government that the land claimed to have been possessed for the required number of years is alienable and disposable. Now, an unclassified land, otherwise, an unclassified land of public domain may form part of the mass of lands classified as public forest, which by virtue of PD 705, alam ng lahat kung ano itong PD 705 na ito, are not available po for disposition. Now, sir, bakit po, pag nagtanong kayo, bakit napunta tayo sa forest land, sir? Ang pinag-usapan po natin, Sandbar. Remember, sabi po kasi ng PD 705, unclassified land formed part of the mass of land and classified as public forest. Remember, sabi ko, public domain belong to the state. There must be a positive act na ginagawa ng government reclassifying this land into alienable and disposable. Otherwise daw, pag walang positive act from the government, it remains unclassified land, and by virtue of the Presidential Decree 705, it forms part of the public forest, which is alienable and disposable. Sir, we are talking of Sandbar, hindi po public forest. Alam ko po. Kaya sabi po ng isang Supreme Court case, yung Boracay case yata ito, GR number 167707, October 8, 2008, forest in the context of both the Public Land Act and of course our Constitution, classifying of lands of public domain into agricultural, forest, timber, mineral, and national parks do not necessarily refer to large tracts of wooded lands or expanses covered by dense growth of trees and underbrushes. Forest lands do not have to be on mountains or in out-of-the-way places. Swampy areas covered by mangrove trees, nipa palms, and other trees growing in brackish or seawater may also be classified as forest land. The classification of forest land daw is descriptive of its legal nature or status, and it is not a description of what actually the land looks like. Kaya may posibilidad din na yung mga sandbar na yan maaaring maklasify into forest land. Why? Kasi sabi natin, pag it is unclassified, walang positive act of the government declaring this land as to whether it is agricultural or whether it is alienable, is disposable, it is unclassified, and sabi ng PD 705, it may be classified as public forest which is alienable and disposable. Yan po yung relation. Sabi ng Boracay case, the classification of public forest or forest land is not descriptive of what it actually looks like. Alam ko po ano po ang what Sandbar looks like. But sabi po ng isang Supreme Court case doon sa Boracay case, it is a descriptive of its legal nature and of status. Yan. GR number 167707, October 8, 2008. Yan po yung Boracay case. Ulit, lands not classified as alienable and disposable, whatever possession they have, cannot ripen into ownership. Now, hinahanap ko po yung definition ng Sandbar. Sabi po ng www.britannica.com/science Sandbar. Yung high school, hindi kami encyclopedia Britannia. Ang mahal. Yun, lahat mag-google na. Minutes to Britannica.com. Sandbar daw, also called as offshore bar, or those submerged. Yan. Pumasok na naman yung isang concept. Submerged. Or partly exposed ridge of sand or coarse sediment that is built by waves offshore from a beach. So kaya nga sinasabi ko lulubog lilitaw yung mga sandbar na yan. Those are the ridge of sand that are partly exposed or in fact sometimes submerged underwater. Yan. Sabi po din po ng Clark 1995 as to the description of beach zones and features, an offshore ridge or a bar, a sandbar that is submerged permanently or at higher tides. Ayan. And this is what a sandbar looks like. Shout out sa lahat ng mga assessor at appraiser sa mga champions ng QRP dyan sa Bohol, sa ating president at saka sa tourism officer ng Talibon, si Ma'am Rachel Saison. Okay? Salamat po dito sa pagpunta namin sa sandbar na yan. Yan, sina mga assessor mo yan, yung nakikita nyo, yung mga pakaway-kaway at saka nag-social distancing na yan. Mga assessor po yan. So that is how a sandbar would look like. Yan, yung sandbar na yan. Si Miss Sarah po yan, yung ating segment co-host at saka vlogger dito. Ay, kahawak, sinong kahawak si Miss Sarah. Yan po yung sandbar. Now, submerged land are owned by the state. This is according to GR number 133250 ng Supreme Court case and are therefore inalienable. Submerged land, yan. Now, submerged land like waters or sea or bay above them are part of the state's inalienable natural resources. Wala pa po tayo sa issue ng issuance of tax declaration. Whether it is alienable or disposable pa po tayo. Papunta pa lang po tayo sa tax declaration. Submerged lands that are property of public dominion are absolutely inalienable and outside of the commerce of man. This is also true with respect to foreshore lands, mga beaches. Any sale of submerged or foreshore land is void, being contrary to the Constitution. Ayan po yung sabi natin kanina, yung Constitution niya. Diba? Ang pwede lang pong ma-alienate are mga agricultural lands. Now, sabi po natin, pag unclassified land, it is presumed to belong to the state. And minsan pa nga, sabi ng PD 705, Section 3, it may belong to the classification of forest land and therefore are inalienable and disposable. Now again, the forest land is not descriptive of what it actually looks like, but it is a legal descriptive for purposes of its description. Now dito na po tayo sa sagot whether pwede pa tayong mag-issue ng tax declaration or hindi doon sa mga sandbar na yan. Ilapit ko yung microphone para mas malinaw yung ating sagot. For us to determine kung pwede ba tayo mag-issue ng tax declaration sa mga sandbar na yan, balikan po natin yung ating Mr. Pao, yung manual for real property appraisal and assessment operations. Balikan po natin yung mga requirements bago po tayo maka-issue ng tax declaration kasi tanong po nyo po kasi to issue or not to issue. Now, number one requirements for untitled property. Now, I presume itong mga sandbar na ito, untitled ito. I know there are submerged properties that have been titled. In fact, meron dito sa Liloan sa amin, sa Ulango, sa Cordova, somewhere in Naga. Submerged land na titled. I-discuss ko rin yan mamaya-maya. Now, sabi po dito sa ating chapter 4, section 5 ng ating Mr. Pao, for untitled property, kailangan before you can issue tax declaration on this land, untitled property, kailangan ng survey plan na prepared by duly licensed geodetic engineer and duly approved by the Land Management Bureau. Yan, mayroon tayong geodetic engineer na assessor din, si Ma'am Ria ng Clarin Bohol. Hopefully, we can get a hold of her. Tanong natin, ano po ba yung requirement para magpapa-approve ng survey plan? Now, nire-research ko yan. Sabi ng Department DAO 2007-29. isa sa mga requirement doon sa survey authority is that it is within the alienable and disposable area. I-screen ko na lang siguro para mabasa ng lahat ito. Remember, the first requirement of our Mr. Pao for the issuance of tax declaration for untitled properties is a approved survey plan, jury approved by the Land Management Bureau. Now, research ko yan, anong requirement doon sa papag-approve survey authority? Number 1 is it should be within alienable and disposable area. Hindi ko pala na-share screen. It should be within an alienable and disposable area. Hopefully, nakita nyo. And it have no existing claims and conflict. It is outside any existing civil, military, and or other kinds of reservation. Ito po ay DAO 2007-29. It is not subject to any pending land registration and not within any ongoing cadastral or public subdivision project. Now, therefore, we go back pa rin doon sa basic requirement in the issuance of tax declaration na certification of whether it is alienable or disposable. So, di ba, sabi natin kanina, there must be a positive act, declaration of the government that the property is classified into agricultural property or that it is alienable and disposable. Now, number 1 pa lang pong requirement sa ating Mr. Pao ay survey plan jury approved by the Land Management Bureau. Makakalusot na ba kaya yung mga sandbar na yan? Na may makapapa-approve na ba tayo ng survey plan na yan? So if the answer is in negative, hindi pala tayo maka-issue ng tax declaration. Kasi nga, one of the requirements for an approved survey plan is that it is within the alienable and disposable area. Now, number 2, ito, lalo na ito. Number 2, it is requirement ng Mr. Pao natin, a certification from the Senro stating among others that the land is alienable and disposable. So pag nakakuha po kayo ng certification na yung mga sandbars na yan ay alienable and disposable, go ahead, issue tax declaration. Otherwise, ang sagot, hindi po yan ma-issuehan ng tax declaration. Number 2, affidavit of ownership. Ayan. Sabotable yan, hindi included sa discussion. Certification. Number 4, certification from the barangay captain that the declarant is the present possessor and occupant of the land. And certification of adjoining owners. Number 5, ocular inspection. Number 6, in cases of newly discovered land, the foregoing requirements. Ayan, ano ba yan? Basta. Number 7, pag may mga national culture, hindi yata ito applicable sa ating issue ngayon, indigenous people. Number 8, in case if the untitled property is claimed by two or more person, whether natural or juridical, a tax declaration shall be issued for both. Ayan po. Pag titled properties, bumabalik pa rin tayo. Hanapan po yan yung mga gusto yung magpa-issue sa Sandbar na yan. Certification of true copy of pre-patent or homestead. So mayroon ba siyang hinahawakang titulo sa Sandbar na yan? And a certified true copy of such title, ngayon pa rin, balik pa rin po sa approved survey plan. So, pag ang sagot nyo po, hindi kayo makasecure ng approved survey plan at saka certification from the DNR, from the Senro, particularly doon sa ating manual, sabi Senro, hindi po issuehan ng tax declaration. So yan po yung kasagutan na yan. For you to navigate, pag mayroon po naman, makomply po naman yung requirements na yan, the answer is you can issue tax declaration. Now, sir, what about those mga submerged properties na sabi mo mayroong title? Yes po, naandyan yan po. Mayroon po talaga mga ganyan. Lalo na po dito sa somewhere in Liluan. Hindi ko mention po yung particular. Somewhere in Liluan, mayroong submerged land yan. Mayroon talagang existing, tingnan ko yung batas. Basta mayroong existing claim dyan, whether title or not, tingnan natin yung Supreme Court case. In the meantime, papasadahan po na naman natin yung mga pa-shoutouts kasi naiinip na po yung mga pa-shoutouts. Si Ma'am Sit, Sit ng BLGF7, si Ate Benz, yung makeup artist ni Nanay Junan. Hi pala kay Miss Junan Adelia, may meeting tayo ngayong hapon, di ba sabi mo? Baka naman may mga pakati. Kay Miss Brenda Liamido. Ay, ka Ma'am Susan Pique. Si Ma'am Susan Pique about watching. Jan Dayan Linlin of Kandihay, Bohol. Si Ma'am Marifel Dumayak ng Bumontreal. Good morning daw, galing from Loay Treasury Department. Yan. Si Susan Pique, yes, na-mention ko na yan. Si Ma'am Julie Santos, Soki rin namin. Ma'am Julie Santos, hi, kumusta po kayo? Si Miguel Magan, Mike Magan o Bohol, formerly sa Provincial Assessor's Office. Si Ma'am Annette Dayon, aming Provincial Assessor ng Cebu Province. Si Ma'am Winilyn Duhay Longson, siguro sa Sikihor ito. Ayan, si Ma'am Julie Santos, ayan, takpan namin. Sino pa ba? Na-mention ko na yata ang iba. Yan, si Engineer Ramil Archaga, pabalik-balik na. Good morning, sir. Yung mga pa-comment naman, wala kayong comment. Si Ma'am Michelle, yung ating pao, dyan, Provincial Assessor sa Cebu. Maayong buntag sa tanan o sa maabtikon nga tigdumala, nining kapihan sa BLGF. Ma'am Michelle, long time no see rin. Ang dami nating pag-usapan. Si Sir Martiner Panoy, nangita daw guyam. Ang cruel naman ng kapatid nito. Si Sir Martiner Panoy, magiting na marinero, nagpaparinig po si Sir Jolis Panoy na medyo po yung laptop niya na Apple naghahang na rin po daw. Baka naman po daw. Oo, baka naman po daw ma-upgrade si Ma'am Luz Biminda Estorion at saka si Arsinia Paik. Now, before tayo mapunta sa information vlog, baka maubos yung oras natin sa discussion ng Sandbar. Ito po yung sinasabi kong what about those submerged land? Yes, there is a fact, it is a fact na mayroon pong mga properties na submerged sa dagat, sa tubig, na mayroon pong title. What about those? Can we issue tax declaration of those one? Pag pumasok po siya doon sa requirements, remember, balik tayo sa requirements ng Mr. Pao, survey plan, certification, and so forth and so on. Pag mag-title, parang it is a positive act of the government na that classify this land, ito alienable and disposable kasi hindi ka naman makakuha ng titulo sa mga properties nila pag walang certification that it is alienable and disposable. Puntahan ko po yung isang Supreme Court case. Again, this is about this actual case na dito sa Cebu for unnecessary exposure doon sa mga parties concerned. Isa-cite ko lang po yung citation, GR number 153726, March 28, 2007. Puntahan mo po yan sa Supreme Court official website, SC Judiciary. Now, it involves that certain bay, Silot Bay, dito sa somewhere in Cebu, na originally classified as timberland ng Project 29 of the map ng Cebu Province. Now, consisting of 87 hectares more or less. Now, itong property po kasi na ito was accorded in an ordinary fish pan. Yan, blinor out ko po yung parties concerned to avoid unnecessary exposure doon sa mga parties concerned. Accorded ordinary fish pan permit, nakasecure po yung isang private person on January 30, 1954 ng fish pan permit for that bay. Yan, sabi ko nga, Silot Bay. Somewhere in that Silot Bay. Now, several years later, nakasecure din po siya ng ordinary NIPA Bakawan permit and another ordinary fish pan permit and so on and so forth. For a valuable consideration, nakakuha po ang private person ng fish pan permit. Fish pan, assuming we assume that it is underwater kasi fish pan. Baka pag fish pan ka po naman sa dry land, hindi. So fish pan, underwater. So nakakuha siya ng permit, fisherman permit. Meanwhile, on January 16, 1967, then President Ferdinand Marcos issued a memorandum directing government officials to identify exact location of these 700 hectares fish pan areas and for the Bureau of Forestry to the Bureau and to release to the Bureau of Forestry, to the Bureau of Land as alienable and disposable. I-release daw itong area na ito na ma-identify as alienable and disposable. So, this time, mayroong positive act from the government, especially memorandum from the President, na nag-classified nung mga areas na fish pond areas na ito as alienable and disposable. Thereafter, yan. Nag-apply po ng certification ang isang private property. Nag-apply siya na ano yung ina-apply? I-stop ko muna yung share screen. Ayan, ano po yung ina-apply niya? Nag-apply siya to purchase this area covered by the fish pond permit. Remember, the private person has secured for available consideration ordinary fish pond permit. Nag-issue si President Marcos na i-identify daw itong areas na ito at saka gagawing alienable and disposable. Now, that certain private person applied for sales patent to purchase the area covered by the special fish pond permit. Now, accordingly, to continue, mayroong application na doon po para sa sales patent na yon. So to make the story short, yung director of the Bureau of Lands yata ito, director of lands, issued a letter stating among others certifying such property as alienable or disposable for fish pond purposes only pursuant to the directive of then President Marcos. Now, in compliance with that process for sales patent, there was a publication, separate certification was issued by certain government officials, and there was securing of no objection. Now, on a day before the scheduled auction sale, the mayor of this municipality wherein this Silot Bay belongs filed a letter protesting for such proposed sale. Sabi po kasi niya, it is a tourist attraction yung area na yan. So, nagpo-protest siya. Notwithstanding, the Presidential Executive Assistant issued a memorandum informing the Secretary of DENR that President Marcos approved the recommendation advising the approval of the request of such private person for the issuance of a patent over the disputed property. So, na-issuehan ng patent, sales patent talaga yung property na yon. From ordinary special permit, fish pond permit, nag-apply siya ng sales patent, na-issuehan ng ng patent sa properties na yon. Now, following the registration, na-subdivide po ito sa kanyang 3 children at saka binenta niya, nagkaroon ng contract of exchange, hindi pala binenta, exchange of real properties for a share of stock. So, na-transfer niya ang properties na ito. So, again, sabi nga, mayroong protest. Now, anong sabi ng Supreme Court? The issue po dito is whether or not the private person are qualified to own such property and whether or not the said property is alienable or disposable. Remember, this is a submerged property. Nasa ilalim po ng dagat po ito. Pagpuntahan nyo po ito somewhere dito sa Cebu, nakaka-submerge talaga siya. So, mayroong objection kasi nga it is tourist attraction daw. Nag-apply siya ng sales patent, na-issuehan naman ng patent, napunta sa Supreme Court. Sabi ng Supreme Court, pwede pa itong ma-issuehan ng sales patent? Sabi na pa din ng Supreme Court, pwede ba itong ma-alienable and disposable? So, anong decision ng Supreme Court? Before that, sabi ng trial court, the lower court resolved that it is a communal fishing ground. Therefore, non-alienable. Pero sabi ng Supreme Court, the property in this case is not a communal fishing ground. Wala po kasing ebidensya na ganoon to that effect doon sa case na yan. So, wala ang present evidence. Whether or not totoo po yung sinabi ni it is a communal ground, wala po kasi daong, sabi ng Supreme Court, na ipresenta na record. Pangalawa, explain ko muna. Pangalawa, sabi pa din ng Supreme Court, teka muna, baka mabagot tayo. Sabi ng Supreme Court, the private persons applying for such sales patent appear to have complied with all the documentary developmental, publication, bidding, and other legal requirements necessary for the securing of sales patent. Sabi ko nga, na-issuehan ng sales patent, ibig sabihin, na-issuehan din po yun ng certification that it is alienable and disposable. Otherwise daw, the director of the during the development process would simply have denied his application for that sales patent. So balik tayo, na-issuehan na po kasi ng sales patent yan. Ayan. Tagal mag-share screen. Ayan. Now, last but not the least, the President's Act in approving the issuance of the requested sales fish pond patent. Yung fish pond cannot be viewed as confirmation of this application. Third, of course, as a necessary requirement with the legal requirements of the sales patent are valid. The unyielding posture of the appellee as adopted by the record is that it is for fish pond purposes only. Sabi po kasi, bakit naman na yan mailinit? Underwater po yan. Precisely sabi ng Supreme Court, yung application po kasi is for fish pond, di ba? Special fish pond permit. Sabi ng Supreme Court, nagpipuloso po pa ng ang Supreme Court. The fish do not thrive on dry land. Kaya nga, yung permit na na-grant is fish pond permit. So, necessarily daw, pag fish pond, underwater yan. So, walang issue dyan. Alangan po naman na mag-grant ka ng special permit tungkol sa fish pond, nasa dry land. Sabi pa ng Supreme Court. Ayan. Fish do not thrive on dry land. Fish are born and grow in the water. Kaya nga, fish pond permit. Nag-evolve siya, nakakuha ng sales patent po yung private person. Now, after the lapse of 1 year daw, hindi na po daw mag-question, the government is stopped. Basically, that is it. So, pag mayroon po namang positive act sa katulad ng pag-issue ng sales patent, application of sales patent, grant ng Director of Class, inapprove ng Presidente, it is now a positive act classifying that property as alienable and disposable. So, balik tayo sa requirement ng Mr. Pao, mayroon ng certification yata doon kasi nga mayroong positive act na it is alienable and disposable, so pwedeng ma-issuehan na tax declaration. So, tungkol sa tanong, na pwede pa tayong maka-issue ng tax declaration doon sa mga submerged areas? Yes, pag mayroong classification na this alienable and disposable, lalo na dito sa case na na-mention ko, na these are granted sales patent. So, hindi po muna ito ay submerged land, hindi tayo maka-issue ng tax declaration. Pag mayroong alienable and disposable, pag mayroong sales patent, yan po ay ma-issuehan ng tax declaration. Walang question yata sa ating comment section tungkol sa discussion. I-wrap up ko lang. Yung sagot doon sa Sandbar, parang hindi natin ma-issuehan ng tax declaration pag walang positive act classifying this property as alienable and disposable. Now, sa requirement ng Mr. Pao, certification by the sender that is alienable and disposable and an approved survey, land survey duly approved by the Land Management Bureau. Makakuha ka ng ganun doon sa Sandbar, pwedeng ma-issue ng tax declaration. Otherwise, kung hindi ka makasecure ng mga requirements na yun, hindi po kayo maka-issue ng tax declaration. As to the submerged land, ma-issuehan ng tax declaration case-to-case basis pag mayroong positive act classifying this property as alienable and disposable, lalo na po yun sa na-mention po na case na natituluhan pa talaga mayroong sales patent talaga miski submerged land siya. Nalilito ba kayo? Wala. Hindi po sana kayo nalilito. Ayan. Punta tayo before tayo magpa-information vlog para hindi tayo mag-overtime. Punta na tayo sa mga pag-greeting sa mga pa-shout. Wala yatang pag-greeting sa pa-shoutout na bago. Walang pa-comments din. Punta ko muna. Si Ma'am Marilo Hilira. Yes, nakita ko na po yung greetings. Lahat. Tangan natin si Michelle Villafuerte, Maricel Dumayak. Na-mention na. Good morning po, our brilliant attorney. Ito, nakakahiya. Kay Alden Purog, yan, na-mention ko na tayo. Si Ma'am Lucille Orlina of Siquijor, San Juan. Yes, ma'am. Long time no see. Sana makabalik kami dyan. Good morning from San Juan. Today's episode is very interesting. So excited to know more. Pero walang mga pa-comment galing from our viewers, ha? You from the field are supposed to know better than us who are all only reading what is on the books. Wala na yata pa-comment. Now, standby po, production team. We are now on the 4th episode of our information vlog tungkol po doon sa conduct ng general revision sa Bugos City. Nasa part na po tayo kasi last part we are on the digitizing doon sa records conversion na yata doon sa mga from field, from the prior records, digitizing at saka mga records keeping. Now, ladies and gentlemen, papunta na po tayo doon sa actual field inspection kasi pag nag-general revision ka, you need to verify these properties kasi you need to revise kasi baka na maaroon ng mga actual change using now the new or the updated schedule of market value. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the part 4 of our information vlog, headed of course by our production manager Jolie Spanoy and our segment host Miss Sarah Mitante. Ready when you are, production team?
So ngayon sir, punta natin yung sa building appraisal section. Magtatanong tayo kung ano yung dapat dalhin sa tuwing punta siya sa field mag-appraise ng mga building. Tara, sama tayo. So ito nga mga kakapihan, ito si Ma'am Evelyn Katadman. Siya yung in charge sa building appraisal section. So ma'am, sa tuwing nalabas ka ma'am para mag-appraise ng isang building, ano ba yung kailangan natin ihanda at dalhin doon sa field?
Ang kailangan natin dalhin sa field yung paas,
Ano yung pakabili ma'am? Field appraisal assistantship for building. Yun yung dadalhin. Measurement tulad ng
para pas.
Ito po ma'am. Ito. So ito nga mga kapihan, pinakita talaga ni ma'am kung ano yung equipment na dala nila doon. Kasi kailangan gamitin para mag-sukat actual. Ma'am,
Hindi kami magpasok sa
buildings na no? Bakit ma'am? Ano ba yung mga cases na
sometimes there are buildings na hindi nila
binapalo?
makapalo.
Iba yung plano sa actual talaga ma'am, no?
We have to ensure sometimes mas malaki ang kanilang plano or mas maliit.
Minsan kulang, minsan sobra naman. Okay, so
We have to bring the
camera. So,
we have to picture the building.
ano, para may evidence tayo kung ano talaga.
Para mag-appraise tayo, makita natin yung
Basis, no? Basis, bakit yan yung...
at saka magreklamo sila, so mapakita natin, yung building mo,
Ganito yan dati, ito ha.
ito yung itsura ng building mo, perfect, complete na, and you have to bring document.
Okay. Ano, yun lang po mawam. Sige, so, i-wrap up natin. Una, pa-ask for building, kung mag-apply tayo ng building. Dalawa, itong measuring tape. Ikatlo, camera. Kasi ano na tayo nasa technology na, nasa era na tayo ng technology Dati yung mga nag-apply ng building, wala silang camera kasi wala pang ganun na technology. Ngayon, yung office ng City Assessors ng Bugo ay nag-adapt sa trend ngayon na using camera. Tapos na-attach na yung picture ng building doon sa paas para may proof in case na magreklamo yung owner, bakit ganito. Okay? Tapos, siyempre, kailangan ng ballpen at saka gabis. So, magandang umaga mga kapihan. Nandito tayo ngayon sa isang property na kung saan magagandak ng building appraisal ang City Assessor's Office. So ngayon, samahan niyo ako. Mga Mercury, ano po yung gagawin niyo dito, ma'am?
Wala kami nabili ng pwesto sa Almoris sa Portugal.
Okay po.
And then, ilocate namin kung saan naka-construct yung
Sige po, ma'am. Ipagkita natin sa kanila.
naka-contract ito sa Albino Dilacos, Junior, and Gadima Dilacos.
Yung ito, ma'am. Ito, ma'am.
Itong building na to.
Building na ito.
So, ilagay ni Belen at naman. Ito dito.
Ay, ma'am, Belen.
Pero, 004. Yung 10. Mountain na ito. And then,
Okay.
si Rainbow, ito.
So, saan tayo dyan? Ikot ito.
Ito
Ito tayo.
So, sa kanya rin ni Rainbow, ilagay din sa kanyang sa land. Ilagay din ang Albino de la Cruz, 004. Then, ilagay din niya, tingnan niya yung LBM, land valuation map, sa Kugon. Kasi Kugon, barangay Taytayan to. So, tingnan niya kung saan ito anong classification? Commercial.
Ito po yung hospital, tapos nandito tayo. Commercial 2.
Commercial.
Commercial 2.
Commercial.
Hotel po.
Kanya ilagay commercial.
Ito classification ng loob po.
And then, tingnan natin yung lot number. Lot number is 1003. That is A. So, sa billing appraisal, ilagay din niya na lot number, sa land reference, ilagay niya lot number 1003A. And then sa land appraisal, ilagay din niya 1003. So, punta na tayo sa building.
Tara, pasok tayo.
Kayo po ba ang may-ari? Saan po ang may-ari? So, dito na lang. Sabi na lang sa nandito na. And then ilagay ni entry ni Evelyn yung tiles ba to or pwede ang area ng tiles, ang area ng
commercial property na kung saan magsagawa ng building appraisal yung City Assessor's Office ng Bugo. So, tanungin natin sila kung ano yung mga dapat gawin kapag nag-appraise ng building. So, ma'am, paano nito i-appraise, ma'am? Sa residential, doon din na tapos na yung sa commercial.
Ito ang natin itirahan. Commercial, residential siya.
Okay. So, ngayon, ano yung unang gagawin natin dyan, ma'am? Tulad na sila?
Pareho din siya. Dahil owner, building, tapos materials natin, tapos land reference.
Pag nag-appraise po ba ng building, ma'am, pare-pareha lang ba yung type mo gamit natin dyan? Yung pag nag-appraise po ng building, isang type lang po ba ng building?
Hindi, depende sa materials.
Depende sa material. So yung ganito, ma'am, na building, na residential building, ma'am, ano yung type na gamitin na dito, building type?
Type 4B.
Type 4B. So bakit po, ma'am, type 4B, ma'am?
Tapos materials, tapos
Ano yung basis natin dyan lang sa type 4B na sinasabi mo? Saan yan natin? Ano yung legal basis natin doon? Yung type 4B, may binabasyan ba tayo? Saan?
SMB.
Yung sa SMB, yung sa schedule of market value.
Sir Jules, paalam muna tayo sa may-ari.
Sige po, sige po.
Okay. Punta tayo. Ayo. Mayo. Ano po? Good afternoon. Nandito kami para mag-appraise sa building.
Ayun.
At dyan nagtatapos ang appraisal section actual field inspection. Abangan nyo ang susunod na mga episode. See you mga kakapihan! So mga kakapihan, huwag nyong kalimutan to like and share this video and please subscribe to our channel.
Ayan. Congratulations again kay aming production manager, Mr. Joris Banay, at saka sina Sara Mitante, si Ante Reza Balani, si Sir Jed, ayan, Chin, kasama po sa aming production din doon sa nagpunta kami sa Bugos. Salamat po again kay Ma'am Margie, Engineer Margie Yamot, kay Sir Berpanbot, sa lahat po ng tumulong sa amin sa production ito dyan sa City Assessor's Office. By the way, tumawag pala yung SB Secretary natin dyan sa Bugo City, si Ma'am Maita. I missed your call, Ma'am, but I'm sure this is in relation to the ongoing information vlog pa rin. We were supposed to interview you sana doon sa ating adapt ng ordinansa na updating the schedule of market value. We hope to interview one of the sponsors or three of the sponsors doon sa ating adoption of the schedule of market value sa Bugo City. May pahabol na tanong lang before tayo mag-end. Good morning pala diyan sa Baay City kay Ma'am Teresa Ablay. Sino pang mga pa-shoutouts hindi ko na mention. Good morning din kay Cirilo Amazona. Ay, kay Sir Cirilo Amazona of Dalaguete. Congratulations, sir. Kay Ma'am Jesosa de Posa. Good morning from CTO Gihulnan City. Kay Sir Efren Tayabas. Good morning, attorney. Watching from Maso, Calapi, Bohol. Gemma Sumalpong. Ma'am Gemma of Bayawan. Kumusta din po si Sir Ray Bilingan. Kay Ma'am Mr. Bakirin Gilbero. Kay Gemma, si Gemma Sumalpong, Esther Gilbero of Argao. Kay Attorney Celine Andrade. Attorney Celine, good morning, ma'am. Hindi ko napansin agad yung pag-greetings pa. Shout out mo, ma'am. May FGD ba tayo ngayon, ma'am? See you if ever mayroon man. Pasensya, naka-absent. Tuloy-tuloy yung schedule. Kay Ma'am Saluma. Ay, Ma'am Sal. Otadoy Gonzales of Provincial Assessor's Office of Cebu. Now, may pahabol na tanong. Good morning, attorney. Can an OIC sign tax declaration? In the first place, he is not a licensed appraiser. He wanted to know kung unsaon ang tax declaration o kung kinsa ang papirmahon. I have discussed this about designations na kasi noong prior episodes through the direction of DE Ditan. Sabi niya, i-discuss daw ito. Balikan ko lang, saglit lang. Naandun po kasi sa ora-ora itong Omnibus Rules on Appointments and Other Human Resource Actions of the Civil Service. Ayan. Tungkol po kasi sa designation, diretso ko na lang. Hindi po natin ma-designate ang isang tao sa posisyon na nangangailangan ng lisensya kung wala po siyang license. Now, sabi po ng ora-ora, section 6, item number 6 of section, kalimutan ko yung section, employees designated to positions with duties involving practice of profession. Now, we know for a fact na regulated na po itong sa assessor's office. Hindi na po ikaw ma-appoint as an assessor pag walang license. It is now a practice of profession shall be required to possess the necessary professional license. So in the first place po, yung kailangan, yung pwedeng ma-designate lang po sana dyan as an OIC are those who have licenses. It goes without saying that if you are not ano yan, section, ano ba yan? Makita? Section 13, item C, 6 of the ora-ora ng civil service. Now, it goes without saying, it is a practice of profession. So, yung po kasing pagpirma ng tax declaration is an appraisal process. It is a practice of profession, so kailangan ng license. Now, mayroong contrary opinion ng dyan na nakausap po isang commissioner, former commissioner of the PRC, PRBRS. Sabi niya, this is you are signing because by virtue of the duty imposed upon by the ordinance, approved schedule market value na daw. You are operating within the ambit of the law, one ordinance, yung pagkakita. But that is not official. It is just discussion-wise, parang ito yung discussion. Now, when we go to official, sabi ng service, if it is requiring yung designations na position requiring the practice of provision, kailangan din license yung ma-designate. Now, as the question, who will sign the tax declaration, hanap kayo ng appraiser na license. Whatever the situation, whatever your setup would be there. Morning po sa lahat ng taga Negros Oriental na nanonood sa atin sa DLGF 7 Kapya. Yan po naman yung ating 32nd episode in behalf of our, hindi ko pala nabati sa first yung ating regional director Jesse Joy Dr. Lero. At saka many thanks na rin sa ating head sa ating post-production sa information vlog, Sir June Romeo Ramusa. Maraming salamat po. Siya po yung nag-edit dyan. Kaya nga in charge sa aming post-production. He is not connected with our office. Formally connected po siya sa amin as contract of service. Pero miski nasa Taiwan na po siya ngayon. Tuloy-tuloy po yung suporta niya sa amin, sa team namin. Maraming salamat na malaking utang na po ang aming pagkakautang sa iyo, Sir John Ramos. So, yan po our regional director, Mr. Director Jesse Dr. Lero, nakasama yata ngayon si Senator Bongo. Yan, sa Malasakit yata program. Yan, kakalapag lang daw ng helicopter ng Senator Bongo, sabi niya, Director Jesse Dr. Lero. In behalf of the production team, sa aming production manager, Mr. Jolin Spanoy, na siya po yung nagre-research kung anong topic na i-discuss natin. Hindi ko mahindian engineer Amin nung may sabi na i-discuss na yung tungkol sa Sandbar. Sa aming kasamahan dyan sa BLJF7, sa lahat ng treasurers at assessors dito sa Central Visayas. This has been your host, Attorney Wilbert P. Danieka, saying bye-bye. Jules?